Good afternoon. This is New York Report. News headlines in a moment. The air quality is acceptable. Alternate side of the street parking regulations are in effect.
The New York Report. One of the oldest and in some ways one of the newest New York telephone dialer services. Started in 1961 by the municipal government as an extra line to relieve the city switchboards during emergencies, the New York Report has taken on new dimensions since production was taken over by phone programs on April 25th of this year. Phone programs are the same people who bring you MusicLine and SportsLine. Now the New York Report is updated every half hour and includes top headlines of the hour.
Congressman Edward Koch and Secretary of State Mario Cuomo will meet September 19th in New York City's Democratic mayoral runoff. The pair ran 1-2 yesterday in the Big Apple's Democratic primary. Alice Crimmins, the former cocktail waitress convicted of strangling her daughter, was officially released on parole today.
Traffic, transit, parking, and air quality reports.
Is heavy. The FDR Drive northbound is slow. The lower BQE outbound Gowanus is bumper to bumper at this hour. The Queensboro Bridge is all tied up.
Broadway shows
and the New York Report includes the type of cultural information so near and dear to the hearts of both tourists and inveterate New Yorkers.
Wiz, The Magic Show, Equus, O Calcutta, Greece, Your
This
Arms
evening we
Too
have
Short.
this cinema note for you. James Whale's The Kiss Before the Mirror from 1933 with Nancy Carroll, Frank Morgan, Paul Lucas, Gloria Stewart, and Walter Pidgeon at 6 p.m. this evening.
Here's a free event you might be interested in this evening. The Central Park Dance Festival continues with the Joan Miller Chamber Arts dance players, Kohan Suzo, Charles Moore Dances and Drums of Africa, Bill T. Jones, the Joffrey Ballet,
Visit a lively landmark this summer. Art, dance, music, and much more at the U.S. Custom House on Bowling Green. Wednesday through Sunday, 11 to 6. Call 425-4445.
It was during the New York City power failure on July 14th that thousands of New Yorkers came to know and love the New York Report. That 999-1234 number, logging in almost 400,000 calls in a 24-hour period. Guy LeBeau, executive producer of the New York Report, was there that entire night, providing coverage for the millions of New Yorkers who were in the dark.
I'd had some blackout experience the last time. And I could tell by the severity of the darkness, the totality of the darkness, through our panoramic windows, I might add, that it was going to be a grueling night. And I think the people with me, we had about 5 of our New York Report staff, instantly knew it as well. And so we started dashing for our various telephones. We have many at this location. Because in New York Report, we consider ourselves the first line of life support for New York City and its environs. And we have greater access and more immediate access to many of the city's support and defensive complexes. So we began to make telephone calls, first in the pitch dark, because some of the numbers have so many zeros in it we could remember and we could easily dial. Later on, Mike Farrell, our production man, who usually comes up with answers, found a whole case of matchbooks that had been imprinted by the company but not yet distributed, and he began to strike matches while we were feverishly making telephone calls. Now, we were able to feed our network, or our report system, with earlier reports and more in-depth reports of aid to the public. For example, New York Report was the first to tell New York citizens that there was a special taxicab ambulance service being set up. The Salvation Army's kitchens that were being set up to feed the hungry and the disenfranchised, many people didn't get home, was first reported through New York Report. And also that if anyone didn't have a place to go to sleep, our armories were opening up.
Since the New York Report provides news, it has to maintain a news operation, using wire services and reporters to follow fast-breaking stories. They found since they've added daily headlines to their reports, their call count has increased dramatically. And of course, during such events as the FALN bomb scare on August 3rd, or on the lighter side, the man climbing up the side of the World Trade Center, the call count soars. We asked Guy LeBeau, executive director of New York Report, how he covers such events.
You're asking me about the part of New York Report I like best, and that is the fact that it transmits vital city news. Well, we are a hub of all incoming information through our wire services, through people that we have as sources on the outside, and they would call us sometimes well in advance of the event becoming commonly known, and we would immediately dispatch reporters that are in our studios to the scene, and they telephone back what's happening, and we put them on the phone system.
While Phone Programs produces the program, New York Telephone is the executive producer. I asked Bob Mulligan, supervisor for New York Telephone Mass Announcement Services, what kind of editorial control New York Telephone exercises.
Well, actually, we are completely responsible for all input to all of our programs. And before going on the air, we have sat down with phone programs and told them what our objectives are and what type of programs they are. They did the creative and so forth, and they do the inputting subject to our control, but we have no problem at all on this, and they know what our image responsibilities are and so forth, and it works out fine. But we are ultimately responsible for everything that's on the program.
I guess the final question is, why did New York Telephone decide it was worthwhile to expand the New York Report from being just an emergency line to being a full-fledged dial-a service?
Well, we all know that the emergency line, which started in the early 60s, has been a huge success and of great service to New York City residents. We decided to continue that, but in addition to embellish on it and increase with other features that might be of interest to them, such as things like what's free in New York. And the call volumes have increased substantially since we took it over, which indicates that our new programming format has been a success, and we intend to even improve more in the future on this.
Thank you. And that's the New York Report, averaging 15,000 calls every day and reaching call counts upwards of 200,000 on days New Yorkers need to know. The New York Report is a welcome addition to New York Tel's family of dial-a services, projected to earn New York Telephone an average of $15 million in 1977. And I'm Kathy Fitzgerald from Phone Programs in New York City.